Welcome back. South Africa has its problems, and a prominent business leader now says the situation is so bad that South Africa is showing the signs of a failed state. Now, in a failed state, the government is no longer in control of the entire territory. The government does not have much legitimacy, and it does not provide the usual services to the full population. It raises the spectre of situations that we've seen in Yemen, Syria and South Sudan, where rebel groups have taken control of large parts. So why would the president of Business Unity South Africa, Bonang Mohale, say we're getting there? He, of course, is the president of that business group and chancellor of the University of the Free State. Professor Mohale joining us now. Bonang, thank you so much. It seems so dire. Why do you say we're starting to look like a failed state?
We are most definitely teetering towards a failed state. Remember that countries like airlines, like farms, take a long time to die. So when you look at the fact that not only is our electricity unstable, unreliable, and unpredictable, the next crisis is water, and you can see it everywhere. Now we have not one, but two national key points. By definition, that should be under 24/7 guard with the South African Police Service at the very least. We saw Parliament burning down purely and simply because a 2017 fire report that says these are the things that needs to be done to be remediated have not been done. Where the president lands and take off from Waterkloof Air Base just went up in flames. The Minister of Health goes to Tutong Hospital just to check their readiness for the vaccine rollout to increase and address the hesitancy. And he gets there and he finds that not only does the hospital have hair cracks, but structural features where sections of the wall have actually been torn off. The hospital is on dolomite, and he immediately orders the evacuation. Let me just end, Francis, by saying we now hold the world record for all the wrong things. The most unequal society in the world, the country with the highest unemployment rate in the world, the country with the highest SME failure rate in the world. We are now second only to Russia in terms of the suicide rate. Our Transnet, in particular Durban Port, has now actually been rated the third from the bottom. So honestly, when you put all of those things together, I'm not even talking about Amadela Ngubona in KwaZulu-Natal, where they've been wreaking havoc to mostly state-owned enterprises, but also private companies, where at any point in time, 21 men would jump off a van with semi-automatic weapons to extort money from businesses. And what is our government doing? What is the SAPS doing? They are folding their arms and doing absolutely nothing.
Yeah, the kidnapping risk also going up
for 3 years.
Bonang, thank you. You've outlined a very sad and troubling situation, and you do focus on what you call a climate of lawlessness, and you bring up the judiciary as well. And I'm interested in that because a lot of people are making links between economic growth and then the crime situation, or the stability or lack of stability in a country, and the justice system. Just tell us about those links, how they are all so intertwined.
So let me start first by saying, the link between growing economies and availability of spectrum is absolutely indisputable. And yet in South Africa, we have been talking about digital migration for 15 years. 6 ministers later, we still do not have 5G. At this rate, even the SACU countries, Botswana, Lesotho, Namibia, and Eswatini, will be on 5G whilst we are still talking about it.
Sure.
So the way state capture works is on 4 legs. Number one, of course, it's about ensuring that we've got a shadow state. We saw that. Secondly, it's about ensuring that we repurpose the more than 740 state-owned enterprises and state-owned companies. The third is where you get rid of the good people who know what is happening with a demonstrable track record, and you replace them with people whose only claim to fame is aiding and abetting state capture. And then lastly, of course, you're not happy with just drinking from the tap in terms of stealing, industrial scale looting I'm talking about. Now you go directly to the National Treasury. You want to really drink from the fire hose. That's where we are as a people, as a country with great natural endowment.
Okay, so how do we push back? There seems to be something happening on your phone, Bonang. If you can try to switch the video back on. How do we push back? You talk about the Zondo report, and I guess this adds to the claim that we have to have people going to jail down the line. And unfortunately, we've lost Professor Bonang Mohale, who's been claiming that South Africa is close to a failed state. And I did want to ask him how we push back, and also what this means for Treasury, because we'll have the maiden budget speech by Finance Minister Enoch Godongwana in February. So not much that Treasury can do about crime and what he's talking about in terms of the justice system functioning well. But what can Treasury do? So Bonang, you're back with us. My question to you was, how do we push back, and what is the role of Treasury, and what should the Finance Minister be thinking about and saying in the budget speech in Feb?
I must apologize. I took it on my mobile, so when a call comes in, it disconnects me.
No
the
problem.
Technology will get better. So I was just saying, the way state capture works is on 4 legs. It's about creating a shadow state, repurposing the more than 740 state-owned enterprises and state-owned companies. Number 3, it's about ensuring that you replace the good people who know what is happening with a demonstrable track record with only those people whose only claim to fame is aiding and abetting state capture. And then lastly, you want to capture National Treasury because it owns 2 entities. One is the South African Revenue Service. Number 2, because it owns the biggest asset manager in the continent, PIC, which in 2010 had 2 trillion rands assets under management. There is no doubt that, especially the 9 wasted years, we even attempted to capture the judiciary, which was the bulwark that stood firm against state capture when most other institutions were indeed captured, because the president appoints some of the judges, including the judges of the Apex Court. Francis?
Okay, and back to my question, what does Treasury do? What does the Finance Minister do about the situation? What do you want to hear from him in February?
First of all, I think to reiterate that he's going to put the budget aside to ensure that the top state capture miscreants go to jail. That number 2 will have the money, the wherewithal, and generally the warm bodies to effect the vaccine rollout as we address the issue of hesitancy. Number 3 is to ensure that we grow this economy, because if the economy is not growing, very soon we'll be talking about the redistribution of poverty, not wealth. Fourthly, we need to create jobs in large numbers. 75% youth unemployment. Not only are we asking for trouble, we are actively inviting it. When young children of military age are sitting at home twiddling their thumbs and doing absolutely nothing. And then lastly, of course, we need to transform this economy so that it looks like us, so that people are heavily vested in this economy. If it doesn't look like us, the 2 weeks in July of rampant looting where pure criminality reigned supreme, I can bet you it's going to happen again and again and again.
So let's not become a failed state. Strong warning. Thank you very much, Professor Bonang Mohale, President of Business Unity South Africa. Thank you for being with us.